There we go.
We on? Are we technically on?
We're technically recording, Scott, after that whole, what, we spent like an hour trying to figure this damn thing out, man. And then what's funny is that we resorted to what is now considered good old fashioned Zoom. Isn't that funny? It's like only a few years ago, Zoom was like what the fuck is this thing,
Right,
new
right.
thing. And now it's like Zoom's like, oh yeah, let's just go back to good old fashioned mail or pigeon delivery, whatever
I
the
know.
hell that's
Sometimes the
supposed to
old traditional is the only way to go, man.
Okay. Hey man, so hey, listen, we're gonna get this out. It's being recorded. That's what's important. We'll figure out the Substack thing. But Scott, so listen, I invited Scott. You know what's interesting is that Scott has been putting out his Bog News. How long have you been doing the Bog News thing,
A
Scott?
couple of years, but it started out with just to a couple of friends, and then it grew to friends and acquaintances, and now I think I have. Well, I just started doing Substack, so I think I got 50 or so subscribers, but I have about 300 people on my mailing list. So I'm thinking some of them will realize that I'm only being published on Substack, and so we'll get some more people. But yeah, it's been good. A lot of good reactions. I've had a lot of good exchanges with people. So yeah, people still read. It's amazing. There are people in this country that still read. So that's pretty
Well,
good.
well, I remember what about a year ago or so when I started my Substack, I was like, wow, this is cool. This is a kind of a cool concept. It's really kind of writer centric. Freaking Facebook and all those other social media. It just seems like this freaking gossip and it's not really focused on this, like real in depth dialogue or discourse, right? So I stumbled on to Substack. Learned more about it. And so I thought, okay, this is kind of cool. This is something that I can get behind. And then I started thinking about your thing that you sent out, and it's like, dude, Scott's got to be doing this shit. I mean, you already have a big, huge following, and this would be perfect for you. So I'm kind of like, it's funny. So I'm sitting here inviting you to join my Substack, but really, I imagine that a ton of people are gonna like go. They're already going to find you on Substack. So very cool. So Scott, hey man,
They already hate us, man. Now once they see our faces, they're gonna hate us even more.
we want them to hate us in the hundreds, not the tens, the hundreds,
What did
right?
FDR, what did FDR say something about the Wall Street bankers and shit? I welcome their hate.
Yes. You know who opens up with that? The Majority Report with Sam Cedar. I don't know if you've ever seen that podcast, but they have this like a bunch of like little punk samples like of music, and then they have that particular quote. And then I think the other one is the Sex Pistols, something about I think I got the feeling you're all being suckered or being fooled or whatever. So it's kind of funny you mentioned that.
My
So
favorite one, Sex Pistols, man. It's got to be "God Bless the Queen,"
oh hell yeah.
her fascist regime, baby.
Hell yeah. Are you more a Clash guy or Sex Pistols?
I'm more Clash.
Me too, man. I mean, Sex Pistols, yeah, but Clash, man, they.
I used to, Miguel, when I had the KXCI radio show for like 10 years back in the 80s, we'd have to do fundraisers, every once in a while on air. And what I would do is I would say, okay, if somebody doesn't call in and pledge to my show right now, it's called the Celtic Crossguard Show. If you don't do the pledge right now, I'm going to put on the Sex Pistols. And I used to put on
Yeah.
God Bless the Queen. And sure enough, people go, turn that off, man. Get us back to the chieftains or whatever. Get that shit off there. So
That's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, and that reminds me of what Pernella said. Your better half over there. When she was talking about like a couple of years ago, we were kind of tossing around the idea of doing a podcast, calling it the Westside Insurgents or something like that,
yeah,
or
yeah.
or something like that.
Something subtle like that.
What's that?
Something subtle like that.
Something subtle, something
Yeah.
subtle like that. Well, your way. Look at that. You've got the whole background blurred for privacy. I got books behind me so that people think I'm smart, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Well, I don't know what the blur is, man. That's not intentional. But I did wear my favorite politically incorrect shirt. So let me just show you.
Irish livers matter. It suddenly blurs it out. Right there. It's like,
Probably
is that
politically correct.
Israeli intelligence there interfering with your?
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised, man. They're
Right.
everywhere.
Well,
They're everywhere.
speaking of that, I mean, so we met. I know that we've become, our partnership in hell raising really began back in 2003 when I got involved with we got involved with the Fiesta Grande when it initiated back in 2003 after the sinkhole on Speedway and Grande, and and that's when we really started working together on a bunch of things, not just the Fiesta Grande, but that was a big deal for like 13, 14 years.
Sure.
Before that, I think we met during an action when I was part of the Teatro Javalinas, right? And you were working with the mayor of Fourth Avenue and a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah.
other Irish
That was a really
radicals.
funny. That was a really funny incident, by the way, Miguel. Yeah, that's. I kind of knew who you were, but I hadn't seen you perform before,
Right,
and it was really funny because we were protesting the British Army band that was
right,
playing at which is now the Ronstadt Music Center, and we were all out there, and you had apparently told the mayor of Fourth Avenue, Mike Haggerty,
right,
my dear departed friend and city council member and the mayor of Fourth Avenue, as they call him, you had told
right,
him that you were going to do a little skit, and
right,
your skit was a couple of you planted someone in the protest, and then a couple of guys jumped out with long trench coats and things in their ears and grabbed this woman and pulled her off the line to arrest her to show how the internment policy in Ireland was used, where people would just be picked up off of the street and stuff. And
right.
I didn't know that you were doing an act. And
That's right,
Paul Campbell, who's also passed on now,
right,
who was old then, got all pissed off and tried to fight you guys. And then
right,
Mike jumped in and said, "Wait a second, no, this is just an act. It's just a skit that they're doing. I forgot to tell you."
right,
Get
right.
people killed by not telling people about it. But anyway, yeah, that was a very early incident with you. It's like, who the hell is this guy? We almost died. And I remember I went over to the cops because they were all upset too. And I said, "Hey, look, this was a skit. Everything's fine. That woman's okay." And they wanted to arrest me. And I remember I was like, "God damn it, Miguel! If they arrest me for your shit, I'm going to be really pissed." But they didn't. They were pissed. They were really pissed.
Yeah, and so it was only Mike Haggerty that knew about it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so we were just dressed as we were literally dressed, me and I can't remember who it was. Also, it was one of the Javelinas, but we were dressed like CIA
like Secret
operatives.
Service agents or some shit like that.
Yeah, the dark sunglasses, and
Yeah,
then we cut the old school telephone wire to put on our ear, so because back then you could really tell. It wasn't like now where it's like tiny little wire. It's like it's
right.
total like telephone cord, right? So it
Yeah,
looked like we were the legit. It was funny because it was so legit that we had three reporters because all three KOLD, KVOI, and channel 4, 13, and 9 all showed up. Right. So they all chased us to the cars. Like, who are you? What are you doing with this protester? And what's going on? I was like, sorry, hey, we can't talk. We can't talk, whatever. But anyways,
yeah.
that's kind of funny. We think now it's like, holy crap, that was pretty damn dangerous.
It was
So
great. It was great publicity, though, man. It was great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of news coverage and the local media covering your latest piece with Bog News, in Bog News, you wrote a great piece, and your main focus was on Prop 414, right? That's coming up. That's a regressive sales tax that the city mayor and the city council
Right.
are proposing. And so it beautifully written, Scott. And I think
Thank
that's why
you.
you have the following, because you don't just talk shit. You have like substance and links and sources to back it up. You come with the receipts, right? And so what's funny is that that I think that's what the people really admired. And I think back at my conversations with Brian Flagg, a local badass, in conversations a few years ago. I can't remember how your name came up, but he said in his classic, Brian Flagg raspy voice, "Yeah, man, Scott, man, if Scott says that shit is real, that shit is real, man." Whatever.
I,
Terrible
I
Scott, terrible Brian impersonation there.
terrible, Brian. Yeah, that is terrible, Brian. But I keep telling him, man, don't tell people that you're friends with me. They'll hate you even more.
Right,
It's
right, right,
bad
right,
enough you're helping the homeless that nobody wants to see or hear or realize is there. That's
right.
bad enough, but you're hooking up with a mix can never get you any good place for sure. So
Keep it on the low, Brian. Come on,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Work
Now,
with me.
Brian,
Work
Brian,
with me.
Brian is a treasure. Brian,
Yeah,
Brian,
he is.
but the fact that he has for decades, year after year, day after day, and you've been to Casa Maria, you know what
Right.
he's living in. I mean, he's living, like almost like one of the homeless practically. I mean, he's got his place, but I mean, he's just an amazing guy, and I mean, he inherited a bunch of money and he gave it all to Casa Maria and to the homeless. I mean, Brian's about as close to a saint as I think you can get, and yet if you talk to him, he seems like he's just the opposite. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's exactly. He looks like he's like I don't know. He's gonna mug you, but he's literally wanting to mug the establishment to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
progress for the working poor. So yeah, definitely a treasure. So Scott, tell us a little bit about your position and your thinking about Prop 414. Maybe kind of maybe a quick explanation to folks that may not really know about what this proposition and kind of your take
Yeah.
here.
Well, just generally speaking, I'm pretty opposed to sales taxes. A sales tax is a tax that disproportionately hurts the poor.
Hmm.
For rich people, sales tax means nothing to them, really. If you're rich, another couple of pennies on your food or your gas, that's not a big deal. But for poor people, sales tax is a big deal. And my main concern here, and other people have been much more eloquent in the letters to the editor, which have been some of them have been really great. The main point here is like, yeah, we all want, the sales tax. They're saying they're going to deal with homelessness. They're going to deal with public safety issues. They're going to give more money to the cops, more money to first responders, which I totally support. But then they throw in like the spy plane, this expensive gizmo spy plane, and the excuse was, well, that's so all the helicopters, in case they run out of gas. I'm like, where are they going where they're running out of gas? I mean, the city of Tucson isn't that big where helicopters will run out of gas. Why the hell do we need a spy plane? I mean, we already have the Tucson Police Department and the Phoenix Police Department training with the Israelis, which doesn't give me a sense of security. Uh,
Right.
these are they commit genocide, and we're having our police officers go over and train with the Israelis. I don't go for it. And that's one where the local and the international seem to link there, which is what I try to do in Bog News. Is try to relate not only to the local but national and international. So there's the plane. But the other thing is that you know the city of Tucson had done a number of surveys with people, and everyone said the top number one thing you got to deal with is homelessness and lack of affordable housing. That was the main thing that everyone said. Look, we got a real people living on, not only living on the streets, they're living in people's cars, in sofas, wherever. We have a serious chronic homelessness problem here, and they want and then they do the sales tax, and the bulk of the thing is going to the cops.
Right.
People are saying, how did you set these priorities? If all the people are telling you we need more money for affordable housing, you're giving it to the cops. And on top of that, the city also, for the last number of years, have been giving massive subsidies to their favorite developers, the developers that contribute to their election campaigns. And so you have a thing called GIPLET, the Government Property Lease Excise Tax, which basically absolves these businesses of paying any property taxes for 10 years, 15 years, some of them are even longer than that. And people are rightly saying, "Hey, you're giving free crap out to all of your friends, but you're going to tax the rest of us more." So that's part of the argument against it. And in my article, I made fun of Blake Morlock, who he's not a bad guy. I mean, I remember Blake from back in the days. I mean, Blake is you can rest assured that whatever Blake writes about, it's been agreed to or approved by the Pima County Democratic Party. I am not
Right.
a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I don't like either of the parties at all.
Yeah.
But Blake and, and I mean, look, we live in a Democratic town. It's run by Democrats. So I understand that the media is going to reflect their wishes to some degree. But Blake just did this horrible. I mean, it was one of the worst. He writes some good stuff, but I'll just read you an example. He's talking about, basically he's saying, you know, the business community is against this, and the neighborhoods are against this, and the left is against this, and the right is against it. So it's got to be right.
Right.
It's the government, my friends in government say it's right, even though everybody else says this is shit. Anyway, so he wrote he wrote this. I just got to read this one quote. He said,
Mhm.
"Quote: Proof that we are fricasseed
Right.
can be seen in the rising opposition to Proposition 14, which he calls a pretty good idea, which because it'll tackle homelessness, affordable housing, and crime. And then I say the magic will come to fruition with what Blake impressively describes as a wraparound approach. And then, and then I had to go to the dictionary. First of all, what is fricassee? So I wrote,
All right.
well, hell, I was supposed to look up some of this fancy wordsmith stuff, and I found, to my complete astonishment, that Blake Morlock had actually really nailed the essence of Proposition 414, not in the biblical sense, of course. But first, what the hell is fricassee? I wonder, as I did, because I really didn't know. The dictionary says fricassee is a dish of stewed or fried pieces of meat served in a thick white sauce, which sounds way too delicious of a defense for attacks on the poor, even if you throw some trickle down onto it. Then I looked up what Blake Morlock said was a successful approach that they're taking, defined as a wraparound. And here I struck gold as the Urban Dictionary defines wraparound as, quote, an extremely long turd that completely wraps around the toilet bowl, often a source of great pride for the producer, usually left in a public toilet for others to admire. A more apt description of Proposition 414 could not have been created if you had Hunter Thompson and Charles Bukowski writing it. Indeed, Proposition 414 can accurately and forthrightly be described as an enormously long piece of turd, lovingly stewed, served in thick sauce, and proudly left out for all the public to admire and vote for. So
Right.
that's a sample of Bog News. That's what you're going to get.
I love it. I love it. What's funny is he well let's backtrack a little bit. Let's backtrack for the folks who don't quite understand how regressive sales tax work. I mean, if you're going to buy a couch or a refrigerator, you're a working person. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, if you need to add for clarification. But basically, a sales tax means that when you go purchase that couch at whatever store in Tucson, you as a working person is going to pay a certain amount on top of taxes on top of the original price. Now it could be $10, $20, $30, whatever it may be, but collectively as working people, we're going to pay more because our income is lower, and those that can afford it to pay more are paying the exact same amount that you are as a working person on a fixed income. So that's why it makes it regressive. And so the idea here is that, and so the argument from the folks that are supporting this could say, come on, what's a few pennies, among friends? It goes for the gooder, better, the what do you call it, the mutual cause or whatever. It's for more cops and this and that. Come on, add a few more cents. But nowadays, the way things are going and how tight we have our keeping our budgets, how we're tightening our belts. Every dollar it matters, right? And so
Right.
instead of the city finding a way to diversify their revenue, they are continuing to rely on regressive sales tax. This is not the first regressive sales tax that they've put out. What are we up at two? Is it two? And I think there's another one that might be coming. You talked about the RTA there, or a component, something like that. But that's what it basically is. And so the question is, why do we continue to balance the city budget on working families instead of finding revenue from other places, i.e., from developers, i.e., from people, that are making a lot more than we are on fixed incomes and working and are living paycheck to paycheck. Is that generally a
Yeah,
description? Okay.
yes, I think that's right, Miguel. And I'll just read something here. This is a letter to the editor by a guy named Carlos Rios.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he says city officials claim that the tax is necessary to offset a $27 million reduction in state shared revenue, which is true because they did a flat tax. But the shortfall represents just 1% of Tucson's $2.4 billion budget. And just remember that the city of Tucson, $2.4 billion budget. That's a big budget.
Right.
With a
Yeah.
budget as large as 2.4 billion, shouldn't the city prioritize identifying efficiencies to cover the gap? Other municipalities across Arizona also face reductions in state shared revenue, but every other municipality in Arizona dealt with it without raising taxes. So, I think the reason why, of course, us poor people are against it because it disproportionately hits us, but the Chamber of Commerce and other businesses are against it because it's going to shoot up Tucson's sales tax higher than other municipalities around here. So when you want to go buy a sofa or something,
Right.
and you're going to pay an extra $50 in the city of Tucson, you can just cross over the border. I mean, not the international border, just
Right. City border.
the city of Tucson.
Right.
You'll get a big deal on it. So that's why businesses are worried that the
Right.
sales taxes are going to go so high.
And
So
not to mention that by people, so what, I'm not ever going to blame. There was a board member. I don't want to take this. I think this will make sense here. There was a board member that was voted off at TUSD. I want to say 5, 6, 7 years ago. We both know him. And because of I think there was the issue was he wasn't he decided not to return some kind of contribution, and it was problematic or whatever, so he lost. But what really caught my attention with his outlook on how he saw constituents and taxpayers and so on was his insistence in blaming parents that would move their kids from TUSD schools because they couldn't find schools that they felt that their kids could thrive in. So instead of saying, hey man, we're not really, being competitive here, we're not really finding ways to attract students to go to the public schools here in Tucson, we are instead disincentivizing working families, and they're looking elsewhere to send their kids. And so, listen, and sending to other public schools, right? So hey, it's going to other public schools, not private schools. It's going to other public schools, but essentially, families are basically choosing what's best for them, right? And so I found it very problematic that this former school board member, would put the blame on working families and basically saying, you need to suck it up. If you don't like the school where your kid is going, you damn well better send your kid to that school because that means more money for our district. And your fucking taxes needs to go to TUSD to fix our problems. It's on you. Okay?
yeah,
Not
absolutely.
us.
Right.
Not us, not the school board, not we don't have to fix our problem. And we blame you guys for leaving because you don't feel like your school. That's such a load of bullshit. So what I'm getting at, it's just kind of the same vibe is with this particular regressive sales taxes in that the city is basically saying, hey man, we're doing the best that we can. You all need to pitch in. And if by not pitching in and gladly and happily paying your share, we're not going to have the roads. We're not going to have the cops in schools, and it's your fault. And so here's the thing, Scott. A savvy family, and all working families, when hey, what is it? The mother invention is the mother. Mother is the invention of, I don't know what the how the saying.
Necessity, mother of invention.
Mother is the invention of necessity. Yeah. So a working family is going to say like, well, crap. If I'm going to buy this couch and I'm going to have to pay this amount, I'm going to go to Oro Valley, or I'm going to go to another, Phoenix or whatever. So then what it does is that it's going against the spirit of this regressive sales tax, in that you're losing all sales tax, right? So working
Right.
families gonna say, well, I'm not gonna pay for this because it hurts my bottom line. And now any sales tax that could have been received from that family is not going to any parks or roads or cops in Tucson. It's going to Marana or to Oro Valley. So it defeats the spirit and the purpose. So
Right.
I don't know how many, but what the scale is of that, but certainly I don't know. It just seems ironic and weird to me. I don't know what your thoughts on that is on that.
I agree. I agree with everything. By the way, I was just looking up something, and I
Yeah.
discovered that my dear friend Jerry Anderson and a former city council member and
Right.
former city councilman Fred Ronstadt did a joint editorial yesterday in the Arizona Daily Star attacking 414. Now,
Huh.
anyone who knows the history of Tucson knows that Ronstadt and Anderson did not get along when
Right. Right.
council. And I actually like both of the guys. Jerry's a very close friend of mine, but I always like Freddie. I mean, he wasn't as horrible as people made him out to be. He actually did.
Right.
He's a really nice guy.
Hey, you can never talk crap about a guy who ended his council term by smoking a cigar at his last council meeting. Remember that? Just
Yeah.
puffing away at a cigar and talking about
likable guy. But Jerry Anderson was really a really good city councilman. I'm sorry he only went one term, but the fact that the two of them wrote an editorial together is what I'm saying. These are guys on kind of opposite side of a lot of things, and I think that's why if it goes down, it's going to go down for that, because people are just sick of the city council, man. They're tired of all the nonsense that they're doing. They're not making it a high priority of stuff. I mean, I don't always agree with some of my left buddies. Like I thought giving free bus fares was crazy. I mean, I believe anyone who needs a free bus ride should have it, which is what we had before. People could go to Suntran and go, here's I'm only making X amount of dollars. Can I get a free pass? And they get a free pass. But when they freed it for everyone, it sounded good. Oh, Tucson has free transit now. Oh, aren't we liberal and cool?
Right.
Well, I don't think people that can afford it should not pay. I got into an argument with someone. I said, Marx, the old German guy, his thing of communism was from each according to their ability, to each according to their needs. If you need something, you should have it, and you should also give the ability you can give. Well, this is just saying no, just free for everything. It's not according to your ability. It's like if you're alive, you get the free. So I've had disagreements with people on different sides of this, and I also have a problem, even though I volunteer at Casa Maria, which we need to feed people, man. People are really hungry. But this housing first thing that is being pushed, where you put people into housing without dealing with their problems, is not, I don't think that's the way to deal with homelessness. I think people need to be treated. They need options. Everybody needs shelter, but not everybody needs housing. If they don't go for treatment, I don't think they should get housing. They should get shelter. Nobody should be sleeping out in the rain and the cold. But in terms of housing, I think there needs to be a reward system. But that's me. Again, I'm talking about things that I don't necessarily agree with my liberal friends on. And I think we have some really serious problems, and I think people need to be talking to each other a lot more. People from on different sides. Since Trump won, I've been purposely going to sites that I would have never gone before.
Right.
Tucker Carlson. Holy shit. I mean, I hated this guy. I mean, he just, when he laughs like a little girl, I'm like, wait a second, this guy's anti-trans and he laughs like this? Whatever. But he did an incredible interview with Putin, which of course he was, you're a Russian spy. No, man, that was a coup. He got to sit down with Putin and ask him a whole shitload of questions. Any decent reporter would have grabbed that, just like Barbara, whatever her name, went to Fidel Castro. Okay, he did an interview that. Then he did an interview with the head of the Teamsters Union, O'Brien. Fantastic interview. You want to know why the Democrats lost? Listen to that interview. Listen to what O'Brien's saying about how the Democrats shit on the Teamsters and why the Teamsters would support Trump over that. Democrats need to listen to that. They need to understand
Right.
how come the Republicans invited the one of the top labor leaders to speak at their convention, and the Democrats shunned him. I mean, that's when Bernie Sanders, the working class has deserted the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party deserted the working class. He was absolutely right. That's what happened. He did another. Tucker Carlson did another interview with Matt Taibbi, one of the I think one of the best investigative reporters in the world, no less the country. Amazing, amazing interview. Who else? He did somebody else, but Joe Rogan. I started listening to Joe Rogan. I had all these prejudices. Oh, Joe Rogan, he's a fucking jock, idiot. But shit, man. Started listening to him. I was like, I get why he's the most popular podcaster. But I talked to some of my liberal friends. I'll never listen to that show. I'll never.
Yeah.
This is why we lose. If you can't understand what your adversaries are saying and how they're feeling, you can't fight that ideology.
Yeah. Well, we're in we're in a time right now where I feel that if you're not a Democrat, a liberal, or of leftist that is not openly and aggressively pissed off at the Democratic with a capital D leadership, then I don't know what the hell you're doing, right? I mean, because it's we have been 100% let down. The one thing that always kind of makes me kind of wonder, and it's kind of it's the thing when you kind of you're doing local politics and you're kind of disconnected with the with the national movement, is how much here in Tucson, how much folks locally on the left know that when we call out liberals and liberalism, we're coming from a leftist perspective, right? Because I could see people tuning in right now going, I mean, I can see the haters, right, that are supporting the local machine, going, oh, see, and Scott and Miguel are calling out Democrats, or calling out liberals. So what are they? Are they Republicans, right? It's like, hell no, we're not. I'm not a registered Democrat or Republican. Just like Bernie Sanders on a local front, I caucus with the Democrats when necessary because the Republicans don't have a lot to offer us. But that doesn't mean that we don't look at each case and recognize that sometimes, what is that called? That diagram, Venn diagram, I guess, when some things overlap, and we have shared interests, and we build alliances around it. That happens. And so when we talk about Rogan making some sense, even here's another example, one of these, like some of these right wing populists, Steve Bannon just recently came out and called out Elon Musk. I don't know if you read about that, but called him out. He's like, oh my God, as the oligarch, or the what are they calling it now? They're calling them the techno or broligarch. I can't remember what the term they're using now, but he's talking some smack about Elon Musk and kind of separating himself from Trump with Elon, because of the fact he sees that this is a freaking billionaire close to being a zillionaire,
It's so amusing, Miguel, because it's like, so Trump's not even in office 1 week and already has a major split in his coalition between Bannon and Ramaswamy and Musk, and it's so funny because what's the split over? It's Musk and Ramaswamy saying, well, yeah, we want to ban everyone that from coming into the country, except the guys that we need,
right.
But we can allow some smart Indians in, right, to work at our shit.
Right.
But we can't let Mexicans in to work the fields. No, that's can't allow that. But no, we need some. I mean, the contradictions in that are just glaring, and that's what we're going to see with Trump the whole time. By the way, speaking of fucking Democrats, you watch the McCarthy-esque lynching that they did to Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrats and the Republicans, especially the Democrats.
Right.
Are you going to declare that Edward Snowden is a traitor or not?
Right.
I mean, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
She'll say what she wants to say, and she has.
Right.
And she's the only one of all of Trump's appointments that actually might do something constructive, might actually look at the FBI and the CIA and our national security state, and they're calling her a traitor. I mean, she's been an army colonel for how long? She's been in the Congress. She has all kinds of security clearances, but no, she's a Russian or a Assad plant or some shit. I mean, it's insane. It's just insane. And the Democrats are particularly Warren, Bernie against JFK. I mean, Bernie was my hero, but my God, he looked horrible. Oh, what are you going to say about these onesies? Oh, shut the fuck up, man. I mean, JFK is trying to make the country healthy. I don't agree with a lot of his crap, but oh my God, Trump could have picked someone a lot worse than JFK. He could have picked someone a lot worse than Tulsi Gabbard too. I mean, he did. Mark Rubio, for example.
Right. But, you know, which all of the, by the way, which was unanimously everybody voted for him.
No problem with Rubio, the big imperialist going. No problem with him, but Tulsi Gabbard, because she questions. Holy shit! I mean, it's a Democrat. If I was a Democrat, I would be ashamed of myself.
Yeah, it's like listen, when you are okay, if you accept the fact that both parties are dropping the ball and they're not resonating with working people, whether you're on the left or the right, you're going to, the instinct is you're going to do what you can with what you have, right? So I think the right wing, that was their strategy. We're going to do what we can, what we have. Do we love everything that Trump is saying? Do we like the right wing rhetoric of Bannon and all those guys? No, we don't completely 100%, are okay with that. But you know what excites me is someone to go in there and screw things up and shake things up and attack the bureaucracy. So think about it. I mean, it's like, if you have read just a few books, okay, if you follow just a few scholars, they're all going to point to the problematic nature of the two-party system and the major problematic nature of the bureaucracy, right? I mean, I remember during grad school that was discussed a lot. I remember one of my professors saying that there was a kind of political saying that when the nuclear when the nukes destroy the earth, the only thing that's going to survive is cockroaches and bureaucrats. The bureaucrats are always going to end up surviving, right? So when you have people looking at this kind of like going and just like tear it all down, they're going to, at least at the very least, there is someone who's willing to shake things up. But what's happening right now with the Democratic leadership is that they're addressing this crisis that we're going through for the working people in antiquated ways. If you think about the American Revolution, if you think about any revolution where working people are going up against a oppressive government, right? If you see those that kind of they throw away the traditional things and they just roll up their sleeves and use their elbows. For example, American Revolution is a perfect example. Like, when the British were coming, they were all like, we were talking about this a week ago, coming in with their wigs and their uniforms. And here we are, and we are now about to do battle. Who is your leader? Have him step forward, right? And so what were the revolutionaries, the quote unquote American revolutionaries doing? They were hiding trees and throwing rocks and shooting. They weren't using the rules.
They were doing the same thing that every guerrilla army uses.
Vietnam, yeah, exactly. Yep. Perfect example. Vietnam, they didn't like, use niceties. And here we are, we see, and optics matter. Optics matter. Yeah.
I was just going to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Look at Gaza.
Right.
They obliterated. They put more bombs on there than we bombed Germany in World War II.
Right.
And they still didn't wipe out Hamas.
Right.
Hamas exists, which means the Israelis failed.
Not only exist, but they're. I hear that they've recruited more, replenished who they haven't had even more.
Anthony Blinken, the bloodthirsty bastard himself, actually came out and said, "Yeah, they've replenished. Hamas has replenished all of its recruits."
All right.
So what did we do that for?
Exactly. That's
what we did it for. My Palestinians, and we didn't do it. the Palestinians, like the Irish, like the Vietnamese, there is a will there that can't be wiped out just with 2,000-pound bombs. Doesn't work.
And the messaging is basically shows. So when people are kind of frustrated, they look at their Democratic, capital D, Democratic leadership, and they say, well, we hate Trump. Trump is horrible, right? He's a horrible, guy. We don't want to support him, but damn it, how did it happen that he actually did get a successful ceasefire? How did it happen that that he actually delivered on that front?
And the proof, what he did proved the fact of what all of us who are in solidarity with the Palestinians said all along. All Biden had to do was one phone call to Bibi Netanyahu. We're cutting off all your shit. You stop bombing babies. It ends right now. That's what Trump did. He sent a Jewish real estate guy who went to Israel. Netanyahu goes, sorry, it's the Sabbath. I don't work on a Sabbath.
Right.
Fuck you, get your ass to work. Got to work. Hey, motherfucker, peace now. You're going to suck. I mean, I hate Trump as much as you do, but you got to give the devil credit, He's the genocide for I don't know how long. We'll see what happens, but still.
Yeah. As Reagan did, my understanding, as Reagan did, and as Bush too did as well.
Reagan pulled out of Beirut once they bombed the compound. But Reagan was just like, screw that.
But Reagan and Bush too, my understanding is that it made phone calls to the Israeli government at that. I think Bush, while Netanyahu was in power, and basically said, hey, knock that crap off. We're not going to send you arms. And they stopped. Right. So when people see that, they see the lack of assertive leadership from Democratic leaders. They have no home. They have nowhere to go. And so when you see the right wing capitalizing it, and it's funny when you see so the optics matter, right? And so when Trump lost his first term, did you see him shaking hands with Joe Biden, sitting in the Oval Office by the fire, welcoming Biden? No, right? Did you see see a little did you see them? There was none of that, right? But here's Biden say, hey, awesome, fantastic. And then during when at our Jimmy Carter's funeral, right? Obama, sitting down and chilling out with Trump, and so what message does that send to people? So
it's that it's all performative. It's all bullshit. The same thing. Like they kept calling Trump a Hitler.
Right.
The morning joke crowd go right after the election, goes down and kisses his ass. Hey, I thought it's Hitler. What are you kissing his ass for? He said to Obama and all the other people that are kissing his ass. I mean, what the hell? And by the way, and going back to Biden, October 7th, horrible attack.
Right.
As I'm sure all breakouts of concentration camps would be a horrible.
Right.
Thing. That's what that was. Horrible thing. What did Biden do? The first thing he did, ran to Israel and kissed Bibi's ass. We're with. I am a Zionist. Hey, here's our checkbook. Anything you want to spend, there you go. Here you go. I mean, what the fuck?
Right.
Anthony Blinken goes over. I want to establish. I'm not here as a U.S. official. I'm here as a Zionist Jew. He said. You're not here to represent the American people. You're there as a Jewish Zionist. Well, whose country are you supposed to be representing?
Oh, right. And it doesn't take that much to message with that if Democrats weren't scared of their own shadow, right? Because, and as we were talking, we had a great conversation. I wish we were recording that our front porch at your house a week ago, because we were talking about this, these kind of things. But with the Democratic leadership currently afraid of their own shadows, they can't even take advantage of easy wins. And as we were talking about before, obviously what the Republicans did and did very well is that they peeled off just enough of pissed off, normies or frustrated normies,
Well,
to make a difference, right? So
no,
so they
I disagree. I disagree.
yeah.
It's more than that. If I could
Tell me.
inject, Joe,
Yeah.
it's not that they peeled off. It's that millions of Democrats who voted for Biden 4 years ago because they didn't want Trump back
Right.
did not come out and vote for Kamala because
Right.
they looked at it and went, "I don't like her. I just don't." How did she get in? There wasn't even a Democratic primary. There was no
Right.
democratic process in the Democratic Party. She was
Right.
anointed. Why was she anointed? Well, she was anointed because Joe Biden stayed in there till the very end, and they couldn't do a process. They couldn't do a democratic process because the presidency is more of a monarchy now. It's more.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ryan, I'm trying to remember his last name, but Ryan, who, yeah,
Rim.
he wrote about how there is some data that shows that just enough people stayed home and didn't vote or voted third party specifically because of Gaza, right?
Absolutely.
Because of Biden's
Yep.
policies and Kamala's refusal to take a strong position. I mean, forget strong position.
Right.
Forget strong. Just something.
Right.
I mean, there was people just saying, "Give me something, a reason." And I know, Scott, because as you know, I knocked on doors for Kamala, right? And
Right.
so and the way I put it is like, "Hey, I'm a lefty on loan. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a lefty on loan. I'm going to try to get Kamala elected because I don't want Trump in office. But don't get it twisted. I'm not a Democrat. I'm on
Right.
loan. I see, and I hope that Kamala will change her position on Gaza, right? And I thought that she would, and the closest that she got to this was when she said during that press conference when Netanyahu came to visit or whatever, is basically saying, she did the two sides, this, the hostages, which is definitely legitimate. We need to bring them home and all that, and then the Palestinians and we need to stop their suffering or whatever. So she was very diplomatic. And then the closest and strongest language that she used was she said something like, "And I will not remain silent.
Yeah.
I will not remain silent." And guess what she did for the rest of the fucking campaign?
Remain silent.
She remained silent. And so I got to knock on doors and talk to people. And what I'm talking about when I mentioned normies is that there were people, and again, this is unscientific, obviously. It's just me as one community organizer knocking on doors. But there was enough people who I was knocking on doors, mostly young people, and then also people in their 40s, ish, 20s, definitely 30s, and some 40s, where they didn't have a Palestinian flag, on the front porch, right? They didn't have anything that indicated that they were hardcore lefties. These were just normie folks, right? I would knock on their door and I would do my pitch and I would say, talk about, getting the Democratic vote out and are you voting? And, obviously, for Kamala, blah, blah, blah. And you would not believe how many folks said, "Nah, man." And what really got me, they said, "Scott, I got so many, not this time, man. Not this time." So you don't have to be a political scholar to recognize what that means when
I think part of it was the process too. Like I said, it was an undemocratic process. So Democrats didn't feel that they had a buy-in on this thing. It was like
right.
it's being imposed. The other thing, there's so many mistakes, but we mentioned Joe Rogan earlier.
Right.
It was the most popular podcast in America, maybe the world.
Right.
Trump goes on there for 3 hours. Ask any question. They have a rambling. It finishes. Rogan says, "Hey, Kamala Harris wants to come on. I'll give her the same thing. We do a 3-hour show here in Austin, Texas." Kamala said, "I'm not going to Austin, Texas. You're going to come, and I'm not going to do it for 3 hours. I'll do it for 1 hour." Rogan says, "Fuck you. I don't have to give you anything."
Right.
She fucked herself,
And not to mention the easy. I mean, this is like an unforced error.
Right.
Saying no to the Teamster, Sean, was it Sean O'Brien? Was it?
O'Brien, yeah.
Sean saying no. So Sean, gets invited. I guess he offers to both parties to speak at their conventions, right?
Right.
The only party that the Democrats said no. The only
The other
party
thing,
that said yes was the Republicans, right?
the other
Unforced
thing that,
error.
I'm sorry. The other thing
Right.
that Trump did, which I thought was very interesting, he went to the Libertarian Party and he
Right.
spoke to libertarians, and half those libertarians hate his guts. They see him
Right.
rightfully as an authoritarian bastard,
Right.
but he still spoke. He had the guts to go and speak to them. Did Kamala Harris ever go to the Green Party or the Socialists or anybody else and say, "Hey, I need your, we're in this"? No.
But and Scott, that's what I mean by when I say peeling away some votes, even though you know you're not going to get all of them. It's true in sales, auditions. It's basically the principle of, like, if in sales, if you're going to try to sell to 100 prospects, it's already built in that 90% are going to say no, right? 10% are going to say maybe. And if you close on 5%, I'm just kind of pulling these numbers out, but just the general principle is that that you're not going to get 100% of closings. You're going to get 5%. But you don't not ask. You don't avoid going in for the opportunity to do what? To just peel away some of those supporters, right? And so that's the strategy that the Trump and the right wingers are using. And says we're not going to, in addition to the unforced errors that Kamala made, they were also very very aggressive and smart about peeling away some votes. Everybody's talking about, oh, the Latino vote, whatever. The Latinos overwhelmingly voted for Kamala, especially Mexican voters overwhelmingly voted for Kamala. It was the Gusanos, in Florida that basically voted, in
Well,
larger amounts.
Trump got
But
more votes from Latinos and from blacks this last time.
yeah, but so overwhelmingly, African American community came out, Latinos, Chicanos, everybody came out. But what Trump managed to do was peel away at that. So instead of 86%, it was 82, whatever it was, right? So what I'm saying is that particular strategy, I think, is important for Democrats, or to look at, and for leftists in general, in community organizing. And so going back to the question of Gaza, one opportunity completely lost is this. So let's say we're gonna reach out to the right wing nuts, right? We're going to reach out and see who we can peel away, knowing that the vast majority are going to say, "Oh, Trump, no matter what. Trump, hey man, MAGA till my dying days, whatever." But there's a small percentage that may take that populist argument and take it to heart, and we could peel them away when you pose this. Hey, so we shouldn't be spending millions of dollars on XYZ. The first thing they're going to say, yeah, man, those welfare queens, yeah, the immigrants, we shouldn't be spending money on them. Is okay. So what do? You just kind of, okay, whatever. Just go ahead with your right wing rhetoric. But you know what? How much money we're spending on Israel and
Israel and the war against Russia, the proxy war against Russia in Ukraine, and that's one. The Israeli one. It's interesting because the Jewish lobby has such a stranglehold, of America's testicles that
Mhm.
nobody will speak it. But Ukraine is another one. If you
Right.
look at the history of Ukraine, and this is why they're trashing Gabby Tulsi Gabbard, is like Putin was never. No one's justified attacking another country, invading another country. But you can't say he wasn't provoked.
Right.
He's been provoked since 2014, even before Trump got in there, by
Right.
Democrats who wanted to expand NATO. When we had assured the Russians we were not going to expand NATO in Ukraine, which had just given up, all of its nuclear weapons.
Right.
So I think, I think the genocide in Gaza certainly played a role, but I think people are tired of war. Miguel, I was born in 1952. All I've known is war ever since I grew up. When I grew up, it was Vietnam War, a horrible war that we lost. We lost badly. Uh, After that, what wars we bombed Libya. How is Libya today? Did our bombing of Libya that Hillary Clinton was so happy about? Oh, we came and we conquered.
Right.
Libya is a disaster today. Uh, you know, Vietnam, which we lost, is a thriving, beautiful country. I mean,
Right.
an amazing country that people are going to now and just amazed by it. Iraq, what did we do to Iraq? We killed what, a million people in Iraq? Why? Weapons of mass destruction? And we're
Right.
lied to by our government, and yet we still believe them.
Right.
Tells us, oh no, Russia's trying to take over NATO and shit. We just believe
Right.
what government tells. And it's like over and over again, it's proved the government lies to us about everything.
Right. Right. Just going back to Israel real quick. So you and I get this, right? And people that are read and follow the news and our community organizers, we get that, right? But we always have to remember that we're the minority, right? We're political junkies, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
we're not to be looked at as the sample for the electorate, right? Because
I'll give you a perfect example of this.
yeah.
I interject here real quick.
Right.
Perfect. Someone I know, liberal Democrat, um, right after October 7th happened, maybe a week or so after October 7th.
Right.
We're talking. I said, uh, this person says, "Oh, it's so horrible with the Palestinians. The rapes, and they hung babies and put babies in ovens, and the rapes." And this is like a week or so. It was maybe a couple of weeks after October 7th, and I had already
Right.
read Aaron Mate, Glenn Greenwald, independent
Mm-hmm.
news people who were saying there's no rapes.
Right.
There was no babies thrown in ovens. And all I said to this person was, that's been questioned whether I didn't say it was all false, which it turns out it was all false since.
Right.
But at the time, which is that, some people question whether those stories about the rapes and the burning babies was really, could be really verified. Is really true.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Holocaust denier. I'm a Holocaust denier. A Holocaust denier. By
Right.
saying that some people question that.
Yeah. No, it's a
Yeah.
the what they call the Hasbara is crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen that. There's a podcast that I've been following for the longest time. What Bad Hasbara. I recommend it to folks to check out. In fact, the co-host is the brother of one of the guys that you mentioned, Mate.
Yeah.
He's one of the So he's one of
Oh
so
yeah,
he's one
his
of the
brother's really cool too. Yeah.
yeah, it's super cool. But okay, so I just want to like make my point on the normies thing. So with the U.S. policy and relationship with Israel, so it doesn't take a lot to make an argument, right? To showcase or to expose the contradictions of U.S. policy in the Middle East with people that are like-minded like you and I, right?
Right.
That part it could be an echo chamber. I mean, we have to have those conversations, and people that are listening in, we do what we do. What the where the real fruit is when you can get normies, or you can get people that are on the other side, the right wing or the working folks that just they have these bigoted views and whatever. We don't have to love them.
Right.
We don't have to have a beer with them.
Well, I mean,
But it's like it's the union model, Scott. It's the union model, right? If you're working alongside, your co-worker there, and you're freaking, 9 to 5, paycheck to paycheck, the boss breathing down your freaking neck, right? And you got this guy next to you with a MAGA hat, and he's just a complete asshole or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, he or she has to feed his family, and you have to feed your family, right? And up on the rafters is the freaking boss who's making your working conditions horrible. Who the fuck are you going to focus on? On the guy who doesn't like you? That's the liberal rhetoric that we have to get past. Who gives a shit if the guy likes you or not? Who gives a shit if the guy even believes in what you believe or not? It's the guy up in the rafters that's spitting on us and is making it so that we can't have a livable wage and I have horrible working conditions. So if we can stick together as a union,
Sure.
as brothers and sisters, we can go up against that guy. So that's what I'm saying, is that so taking the union model, I think, is a perfect example of how we can make change. And if you look at the policies on Israel, talk to this guy. Don't talk about abortion rights. Don't talk about LGBTQ issues, as much as you don't agree with this guy. But can you agree that your tax dollars should not go to genocidal policies in Israel, where in Israel they have free, universal
Free
health care,
healthcare, free education,
education,
free,
right?
yeah, yep,
And so you're telling me, so take your conservative worldview
right.
and tell me if it doesn't mesh with my leftist worldview, and there's an overlap where we see like, hey, you want parks, you want cops in your neighborhoods, you want better education. We may disagree on how that works, but generally speaking, as Americans, should our money be going to a foreign government in the billions, right? To start yet another war and fund the genocide of the Palestinians. And even if just don't even let's not even mention that. Just generally speaking, why are we giving billions of your hard-earned tax dollars to a country that's treating their citizens better than our own citizens, me and you here in the United States? So that's what I mean by peeling away the normies and peeling away just a few of the folks that may not agree with us politically at 100%. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, no, that's exactly how to approach it. I mean, the other thing is, again, going back to Ukraine as well. Talking to someone, so how many billions? So tell us what you know about Eastern Ukraine and why that's in our national interests to try to have a proxy war with a country that has equal, if not more, nuclear weapons than we do. I mean, we are the warmongers of the world, man. I mean,
Right.
China is a threat, but they don't do the shit we do. They haven't overthrown and occupied other countries like we did in Iraq or Vietnam or
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, they're a threat, but they're not the threat that America is to most of these countries.
Right. Right.
Goes in, we go in and say we want to build a military base. China goes in and say we'll build you some bridges.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
It's
It's a better PR.
Yeah, and we can make the argument on a more intellectual level, where we can say, hey, look at the neoliberal policies that we are executing here with Ukraine, and look at how the language that President Claudia in Mexico, how she is constantly talking about the neoliberalism and her policies. We can make that argument at that level, and we could also make the argument not so much in an rapid and intellectual rhetoric, and just basically say, what the hell are we doing in Ukraine? If we truly believe, that we need to be there for Ukraine folks, let's talk about how funding yet another war, a proxy war, is benefiting me as a taxpayer, and how's it making my schools better? How's it
Right.
making feeling safer in neighborhood?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Why should all our resources go to war? I mean,
Right. Why should our resources go to war? So
ridiculous.
there's that language, right?
But I think we're going to be more and more faced. This empire is on the decline, and we're going to
Right.
see more and more problems, social problems, political problems, probably military actions. I mean, Trump's talking about taking over Panama,
Right.
Canada, Greenland. Did you hear the guy from Denmark speaking at the
Right.
European Union? He goes, hey, Donald
Right.
Trump, I got 2 words for you. Fuck off.
Right.
National conference. I'm like,
Right.
that's what everyone needs to tell him.
Right.
Everyone.
Right.
Not
Here's the thing, that rhetoric, whether you feel is legitimate or not, right? Whether you believe that Trump is just basically blustering or not, it resonates with people that have been disenfranchised, and they
right.
just want to they just want to know that there's somebody there
Good.
fighting for them. It doesn't have to make sense, right? just at a gut level, they want to know somebody who will just say some crazy shit
right.
that resonates with them so that they know that they're being heard. That's
And
where the Democratic leadership with capital D fails us, because they're instead of doing that, right? The closest we've gotten to is Bernie, right? But
right,
instead of doing that, they're still wearing the wigs. They're still wearing the wigs and clutching their pearls and talking
right,
about like when they go low, we go high, and it's the what do you call it, the spirit of the office, or the Oval Office and its tradition. So we're
right.
sitting here talking about tradition while people are being gentrified from their neighborhoods. They're being evicted. They can't freaking afford groceries,
And deported.
and deported, and we can't find a freaking Democrat leader to just talk some shit and use some
Right,
elbows to fight
right,
for us, right? And so
right.
that's where the right wing and Trump gets it,
And
you
so
know.
I mean, we've had these discussions before. I think, like Noam Chomsky said, I quoted in the Bog News. It's important who's elected in there, but what's more important is the pressure that the voters put on those
That was
leaders.
a good quote in your piece. Yeah, I read that.
And I think that's right, because I do think, in all deference to, and I have total respect for anybody that runs for office at all, but I think, maybe the left should be paying an equal amount of attention to union organizing and supporting
Oh,
unions.
100%.
And because ultimately, the only people who really can stop Trump, it's not going to be the Democrats. It's
Right.
going to be Teamsters and longshoremen and the
100%.
working class of this country that are going to say, you know what, screw it, we're not work. We have a right not to. We're not going to work. And when they screw everybody with, as Trump is doing on the National Labor Relations Board and so forth,
Right.
they're trying to be, NLRB, all that stuff was created by FDR to calm down the class warfare. That's why we have all of these things. Trump
Right.
wants to wipe all that. Once he wipes all that out, wildcat strikes are going to become a real thing.
Right.
Right now, they could be declared illegal, and unions don't do it. But once they change all the rules, it's going to go back to the wobblies, man. It's just like, let's just close the sucker down until we get what we want. And ultimately, I think that's the only thing that's going to save us. If anything saves us, it's going to be working people going, we've had enough. Enough of the warfare, enough of the gentrification, enough of the class warfare against people in this country. And just, and they can, the workers can actually stop the means of production if they want to.
Absolutely, and bringing it back. So we were in Ukraine, we were in Gaza, bringing it. We were in Mexico and Vietnam. We're bringing it back down to Tucson.
We
We
didn't
get
talk enough about Ireland, man. We didn't talk enough about
well.
Ireland, dude.
Oh yeah, Ireland, man, hell yeah, and they man, I gotta tell you, man, they're making. Hey man, both our homelands are making us proud right now.
Yes,
Mexico and Ireland, right?
absolutely
My
true, man.
God.
Absolutely
Shine
right.
bomb, and yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
man. But so coming back home, we get back to Prop 414, and so now we're seeing this interesting dynamic where just kind of like the whole that proposition that was going to give a sweetheart deal to TEP. Remember that initially? I can't remember the proposition number for that one, but remember the TEP deal where they were like saying that they wanted to give them the rights to run cables, you know,
right.
on more affluent areas, and stick it to the poor folks on the south side and west side. So just like that, just like then, there was a kind of an unspoken alliance, right,
Right.
from the working poor leftist union folks and some of the more conservative business interests. We're seeing the same thing happening now with Prop 414. And so you're right, a good deal, especially going after Murlock over at the Tucson Sentinel, and how he basically was being an apologist for the local machine
Big time. Big time. And
and
he's a
support.
nice guy. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
when I disagree with someone, I got to disagree. But
yeah,
anyway, one thing, if I could, just
yeah,
a couple of important figures,
yeah,
facts
yeah.
regarding Tucson's, because the city does have a serious problem. They have a very,
Right.
very serious financial problem. that they've covered up for a long time. They got all the COVID money in, so a lot of that could be covered up, and things could be. But okay, so this is according to a site called Truth in Accounting,
Mhm.
and it says in Tucson's financial breakdown, Tucson had a $1.6 billion available, $1.6 billion available to pay $3 billion worth of bills. Okay, so they only have half the money to pay their bills. There's a $1.3 billion shortfall and an increase of $310 million from the prior year, and a burden of $7,700 to every taxpayer. So every taxpayer in the city of Tucson doesn't know it, but they owe over $7,000 because they, and the real scary thing is the shit hit the fan here, increased tax collections. The problem is the pension investments. The pension investments are unfunded. And if you are a former city employee and you think you're going to be getting your pension, you better really start paying attention to the city financial thing. So it says the continued market fluctuations, changing investment values, decreased COVID relief funds, and a stabilizing economy may slow tax collections, which would further worsen Tucson's financial health. Yeah, Tucson has set aside only 50 cents for every dollar of promised pension benefits and only 13 cents for every dollar of promised retiree health care benefits. So they're in a lot of shit. I mean,
Right.
they do need money. But of course they want to get their money by being on the backs of the poor.
Well, and you mentioned something in that piece, Scott, that I thought was very telling, in that you were kind of speculating on the reasons why the former city manager split town, and basically saying how he kind of saw these inconsistencies and contradictions in the budget, and he saw some trouble coming up. So what do good bureaucrats do when they see that things are going to look shitty here in the future? You bail out, right?
Well, I had heard that from inside. I mean, that wasn't just my brilliant analysis here. I heard from inside city sources that Mike Ortega's got to get the hell out because
right, no relation.
Right, because Rahina is making him, do all this shit that they can't pay for. That's what I had heard.
And I would say as well is that the mayor does not strike me and many people as a shy, motivated politician, right? So similar to the former city manager, I could see the mayor thinking, "Hey, man, if I can just show some of the the development along the modern streetcar route, if I could just show some of the fun, glitzy, pretty stuff that I did, and just get the hell out and run for something else before the chickens come home to roast budgetarily, right? Then I'm good to go. I don't care what mess that I leave, as long as it looks good on the surface. And once the accounting part comes up, it doesn't matter to me because I'll be gone. I'll be in Congress, right? So that's something to think about. I mean, what do you think, Scott, as far as if you think back at your years involved, because I know that you used to be a former chief of staff for was the Wheeler, right, back in Ward 1.
Bruce Wheeler, Mike Haggerty, and Ray Carroll, a Republican on the board of supervisors.
Oh, that's right. So Bruce Wheeler, Mike Haggerty,
Democrat, and one Republican.
Yeah, and then what's the on the county? Who was the county?
Ray Carroll.
Yeah, and Ray Carroll for the county. So you kind of seen and how the dynamics have shifted here locally in Tucson. Do you see that people are beginning to kind of wake up to these contradictions, and there's going to be more of a shift, and or do you think that once, because we know that Congressman Grijalva is very sick, and he already said that he's not going to serve a second or another term. This is his last term. So the máquina is kind of what's going to happen. Is Regina going to take over? Is Adelita going to take over? What do you feel like people are a little more amenable to some independent thinking and critical thinking and making some changes here locally, or do you think they're still kind of like going to kiss another ring?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to predict the future. I would say there's some hopeful signs with all of the opposition to the sales tax. So in terms of independent thinking, people aren't just doing what the city council tells them is good for them.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, we saw the council win by a couple of hundred votes, by I think 250 votes, to give themselves a
A
triple
raise.
pay raise,
Right.
and then they cut back their hours.
Right.
Give them more money, they work less. That's why I said
Yeah.
blog news. Maybe if we gave them even more money, they just stay the fuck home. And
That's a good line.
it might be better for the whole city if they did. But
That's
anyway,
a good line in your piece. So I know we've been going on. So just a few more minutes, Scott, if you'd be willing, just to since we worked so hard to get on freaking doing
yeah,
this, we might as well take advantage of it. But so I know that Kevin Dahl and Paul Cunningham, when push comes to shove, that they've been pretty good at supporting our efforts to stop any kind of redistricting on the west side, and protecting the Rio and the things that we care about here on the west side. But these guys are politicians. They do some good work. But hey, if you're a politician, you're a politician, and we have to hold folks accountable. But so I know that once Kevin Dahl came in, and we lost Steve Kozachek, at Ward 6.
that was a
Um,
big loss. That was a
it
big
was
loss.
it was a big loss, man.
Steve K was a great guy.
Steve, oh man, Steve was really really really
And they
good.
just did you see they just put him ahead of Pima Animal Control?
Pima. Oh, she's no
Yeah,
longer at the.
Jen Lesher, say what you want. Jen Lesher's a smart cookie, man. She put Steve K on top of in charge of Pima Animal Control
No
permanently.
way. Oh,
Good move.
wow.
Good move.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So now that we don't have a Steve K raising hell and asking good questions and holding folks accountable, the closest that people talk to about is having someone like that has been Kevin Dahl, and I do want to give him credit for speaking pretty firmly on being opposed to any kind of redistricting movidas the last time that we talked about it. Yet he also, but yet he took the position in teaming up with the majority on the with the TEP initiative, took the side of this corporate, billion-dollar corporation, and then on Prop 414, he's also taken the position to the point that he actually spoke out, during a mayor and council meeting, which is actually illegal, and the city attorney spoke out, and
Yeah,
I guess that they muted his
yeah,
position.
I know someone who's listening to the council meeting, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's promoting 414. Doesn't he know it's illegal?" And
You
next thing
can't do that.
flipped out. You can watch it, and all of a sudden Dahl starts speaking, all of a sudden blip, and then the mayor's talking. It's like, oh come on, guys.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's worse than the cover
Yeah.
up. It's better enough
Right.
to say, oh man, I didn't mean to do it, but then to cover up the official record. Oh,
Ah,
so cheesy, man. They're just so cheesy.
hilarious, and that's where you miss the skinny. That's
Yeah,
where you miss him. As much as I remember having little
I,
spats
yeah,
with him.
oh yeah. Oh, they
The
drive us crazy, but man, I was working in the council when the skinny was when Crystal Embarrass and and Franzi and the muckrakers were amuck, and
right.
man, on the council, every issue of the Tucson Weekly every week, first thing you'd open up weekly. What
Skinny.
is the skinny saying about us? What?
Absolutely.
None of that now.
We
Nobody
don't.
shit what the newspapers say. Nobody believes anything.
We really really don't, and I think that there's a local hunger for truly independent media, and not to be critical of the good work. The Tucson Sentinel, they do some good work.
They do.
The Tucson Weekly is starting to do. They kind of were dormant for a while. It was just kind of this
Getting a
like
little
whole,
better. Yeah.
just pro business, big business, and like
Marijuana
no new, yeah. And
ads
then
from
suddenly they had that great article with our friend, your friend and my friend, Mohadeen.
yeah,
that coverage
yeah,
of his
great.
position as a pro-Palestinian work, and
That
so
was
there are some glimmers of good independent alternative media.
yes.
But at the end of the day, though, it's
Nobody's
nothing like we
watching
had
on
it.
a daily basis, not like they used to watch. Well, of course, don't
Just
forget we used to have two newspapers. We had the Star and the Citizen, and they
barely.
competed with each other, other than the Weekly and what. But the two main newspapers competed. So
Right.
when I mean, competition is is a good thing many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it comes to newspapers, it was definitely a good thing because they were all trying to scoop each other. Now,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think Tim Seller is a really good writer. I think he's a good editorial. I don't always agree with him.
Right.
I think he's a really good writer, and he does pick topics that are not always easy to take. You know, he just wrote
Yeah.
a on Grijalva, why Grijalva needs to step down. You know, he's looking like Dan Feinstein, Joe Biden. You know, it's like, come on, man. You know, but you know, obviously that's a hard decision. And you know,
Yeah.
Raul, I've known Raul for many, 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 many decades, and we've had very, very big disagreements. But I'm a cancer survivor too. I know how difficult that is. I know how difficult his family is probably going through. So I got nothing bad to say about Grijalva right now.
No,
but
no, but everybody
but
wants, nobody
I
wants
don't, I
to.
don't think I don't think I don't think Adelita is going for his seat. I think maybe she
Right.
will eventually. Uh, Regina, you know, you could just see she tastes blood. You could just she is just, you know, the fangs are out, man. She wants to go high, you know, and above everything. So that's the one. Adelita is just so nice. I think Adelita is too nice. I said it to somebody recently. I said, you know, I really like Adelita. I think she'd be great in Congress. I think she'd be good no matter what she did. But I just think she's too nice. Now, next time she sees me, she's probably gonna treat me like shit. You know, you think I'm too nice? Well, I'll stop treating you so nice. But I mean, there are very few politicians that come over and give me a hug when they see me. You go,
Right.
she's
Right.
the one that does.
Right. Right.
I'm like,
Right.
have you talked to your father about what he thinks about me? But anyway, she's
Does
really,
your father know you're giving me hugs?
yeah, that's right. That's what I think whenever she does this. Oh boy.
Yeah, no, no, and we wish, you know, only the best, you know, for you know, Raul to feel better. We can disagree politically, we can be
Sure.
have different takes, but certainly his health and
Yeah.
the health of his family and everyone. Ramona, you know, I
He's
used to
not a
work.
good congressman, in spite of whatever, you know, he pisses us off and he does things
Right.
that I really, really don't like. But overall, man, I think he's been a good representative of his district.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. And that's the thing, you know, I don't know where it happened, where all of a sudden we were supposed to be fearful of our politicians as opposed to the politicians being fearful of us. There's this famous saying somewhere
Yeah,
that speaks to that, right? But that's not
yeah.
the way it's supposed to work, right? It's supposed to work regardless of what your relationship is, no matter what. You know, I mean, I've run for office. You know, we have Brian Flagg who's a council member now, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
South Tucson, he gets it.
amazing. Yeah,
You know, I mean, as awesome as Brian Flagg is, right? He knows that he is sacrificing a part of what he's done for decades to serve this purpose.
right.
And the relationship is different, and it is nothing personal. But any books that you read, you recognize that, hey, there's politicians, that's their role, and it is nothing personal. But at the end of the day, it's the working people who ought to put fear into the elected officials so that they listen to us. Whenever it's the other way around and we're fearful of the politician, that's when things get kind of weird and machine politics happen, you know?
We start out by saying what Chomsky said. It's important who gets elected, but it's more important how much do people put pressure on those elected.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I do a little plug of some cultural stuff?
100. Go for it, buddy. Go for it. Absolutely.
Okay, a couple of things is first of all, the music group The Hooligans, who I have a lot of affection for, have been invited to perform at the second annual Tucson Irish Music Showcase, which will be coming up this on Saturday, February 22nd at 7 p.m. in Concert Tucson is where you can get tickets. The other thing that I'm also really excited about is Barrio Hollywood is going live again. Uh,
Right.
you know, Miguel, you're always been so helpful at these events. We really appreciate everything you do. But it's a great. We've had fantastic people come and play for us. Gabriela Ayala, Ted Ramirez, Bobby Ronstadt, some of Tucson's best musicians. And so we're starting it up again in March. It's going to be the first one's going to be March 9th at 3 p.m. It's a Sunday. We're going to do. We've moved from first Fridays the second Sundays. So March, April, and May, we're going to be at Mariscos Chihuahua on Grande and Speedway. So please put on your calendars. Come to the second Sundays at Mariscos on March 9th. And if you can come to Deaf and Blind School or Berger Performing Arts Center on February 22nd. That would be good too. Thank you for allowing me to plug in my stuff.
100%. No, Scott. Yeah, and shout out to all the folks that have been working on this the open mic project. Shout out to you, Scott, and Pernella, Patrick McKenna, president of Barrio Hollywood,
Raul Perez, who
Raul Perez. You know, we're co-MCs of this. Yeah, me and Raul are co-MCs, and Raul, you know, done an amazing job, and Ben, you know, who's was a performer there for a while, who's doing some great work
too.
Yeah.
Is a great performer.
Yeah.
And Rod.
And Rod
McLeod, you know.
Rod
When I first met
McLeod.
Rod McLeod, he's like, well, he says, you know, I'm Scottish. I'm like, yeah, I'm Irish. Yeah, yeah. I said, hey, Rod, you know the difference between a Scotsman and a member of the Rolling Stones? Like, what's that? I said, the Rolling Stones used to sing, hey, you get off of my cloud. Scotsman says, hey, McLeod, get off of my you.
Right. Right.
Rod McLeod actually laughed a little bit.
He laughed a little bit. Yep. No, and he's got a great voice, and I love hearing him perform. Yeah, for sure. And he knocks on doors like there's nobody's business. Working on Sam Hamid's campaign, mine, and he's just really amazing guy.
Amazing organizer. He really
yeah,
is.
great community organizer. So great event. Yeah, definitely check that out. It is it's really an amazing opportunity, an amazing event. And it's just interesting. I think, and I'm going to write about this and the Fiesta Grande, because it's not, on the surface, it is a cultural community gathering opportunity. Absolutely. It's all about the fun and like-minded folks. It's open to everybody, you know. And so I think that's what you all have started and have been doing. And, you know, shout out to the memory of Ray Armstrong, who really was the heart and soul of this before he passed away, and putting this on. So it's always been this kind of wonderful cultural community gathering, but there is something way more to it that I don't think that you and other folks with Barrio Hollywood give yourselves enough credit on, and that is that it's kind of a political statement in saying that, you know, Barrio Hollywood and the Westsiders, man, we ain't going anywhere. We're still here, and you can't ignore us. You can't ignore us.
Palestinians.
100%, right? It's like regardless of what, you know, go ahead and try to redistrict. You know, we're gonna fight you. Maybe you'll win. I don't think you will, but if you do, we ain't going anywhere. And so that is the thorn in the machine side through music and gatherings that I think is so important and highly political.
I mean, it's great that we're going to Mariscos Chihuahua because it's such a great venue and it's great food and all that. But, you know, the last couple of years we've been at the El Rio Golf Course, which is what the city was trying to privatize. They wanted
100%
to out from us, you know, wipe out the one green spot in the barrio, you know, and and so we did it there for a number of years, and the people at the El Rio Golf Course were really great to us. I mean,
right.
It was time to move on, do something different, but they were just fantastic to us, and we had a great time there. I mean, it was Friday nights. It was a blast, and so we're hoping Sunday afternoons it's going to be good too. We want to go to some of the schools. We want to get kids. We want to get some youth mariachi groups. We want to make it more of a family thing rather than a late Friday night thing. Also, I don't like driving at night anymore because I'm too fucking old. But other than that, it should be fun. It should be great. So yeah, Marisco's March, whatever I said, 9th, 7th, whatever the second Sunday is.
Right.
Yeah, try to make it.
Yeah, definitely come out and join us for that. All right, so now let's wrap things up, Scott, with promoting your Substack that I bet you is already 5 times bigger than mine will ever be. So you can be found on Substack. It's Bog News, right?
Well, it is Bog News, but the Substack is something different here. It's Scott D. Egan at Substack, I believe.
Yeah, it's a trip. I let me see here. Let's take a look here. I think that if you
okay, I got it.
Yeah, so if you search, Scott Egan, or if you search let's see, Bog News. I'm just trying to see how it pops up here. Yeah, Scott D. Egan. Yeah. Well, yeah. Search for Scott. Yeah, Scott D. Egan Substack. It'll pop up. Certainly, I have recommended you, and in this post, well, it's a Zoom format now, but I think that I can take the recording, upload the link to Substack, and I'll definitely, point folks in your direction so they can subscribe to you, because that's the way to go, man. So
Let's do this again, man. Let's do this again sometime. This is fun.
so let's do it monthly, man. If as long as we don't drive Bernella crazy, and they don't, I don't get in trouble over
No matter
here.
what, man. That's gonna happen. I drive her crazy every damn day, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one, Scott, we're kind of like, blah, everything,
Yeah.
Middle East, Gaza,
Right.
Claudia Sheinbaum, the presidenta.
Next time Ireland, man. Next time we talk about Ireland.
Ireland. Yeah, we'll talk more about Ireland next time. But thanks so much, Scott. I appreciate you being on.
Thank
We're good in doing this on a monthly.
I think so.
Yeah, let's try to do it monthly if we can, and we'll
Well,
figure out all the
assassination attempts or whatever. I think we'll be okay.
right. Yeah, we'll figure out all the bells and whistles and how this whole thing works. But thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Okay, I guess this is the Westside Populist Podcast somehow, if we throw it on there. And so signing off. Don't let that tie squeeze a chicanismo out your brain, right? Paz y guerra. All right, Scott, buddy. Take care, brother.
Take care.
Bye.